What's up, guys and gals? It's your boy Jeff coming to you with the next episode of Extreme Nerd Table with my buddy Randall here.
Hello, everyone.
So, what you been up to, Randall, this week?
Oh man, I've been up to a lot. This has been a big week for me. I put in my 2 weeks notice at my second job.
Which one is that? Is that the empanada job or is that the other
No,
one?
no, the empanada job is my main job.
All right,
Empanada World. That's where I
right.
work at. If you live in Tampa, Empanada World is on Henderson Boulevard, by Pete's Place, the bar. It's not far from like Del Mabry. So it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
nice little place. But no, the job that I put in my 2 weeks at is Carol's Corner Market.
yeah.
Carol's Corner Market. My tax lady, Nina Carroll. She helped me with my business taxes the first time I had my business. I had made some mistakes, and so she fixed all of that up.
Right.
Anyways, I just been feeling burnt out, feeling tired. Like working a lot of hours, working a lot of days. And so I'm going to use my days off to focus more on the comic book business, which is a good thing. That's a huge thing.
What was? Yeah, let me ask you one thing. What was Blank Variant Corner supposed to be? Was it supposed to be a delivery service for comics, or what was it supposed to be originally?
Well, I mean, I would like for it to be a delivery service, but it's tough because you have to have a set schedule, which I don't have. Both the jobs that I worked at, don't necessarily always have a set schedule of hours. So that's why I'm really grateful for the customers that I do have, because they're very patient and they're very understanding, and about half of them are pretty flexible. They'll be like, yeah, I can't meet up tonight, but I can meet up this time or that time, So sometimes I'm meeting people like I'm meeting them at like 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
Waffle House or something like that. Meet up, hang out, talk comics a little bit, and then make the exchange and make the sale. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I would like to have done it as delivery service. I mean, I wanted to do that from the get-go, a long time ago, when I had comics.
But joking around with you, you're almost like a drug dealer type thing. Almost.
But, oh man, I should dress up as like James Franco, right? I should just dress up as James Franco from what was that movie? Pineapple Express.
Oh, Pineapple Express, or the other one from
just replace weed with comics.
Yeah.
And then when the guys show up to get the comics, they're like, "Dude, we're not friends. You're just the guy that sells me comics. Give me my comics."
Let's say what's up to the chat. What's up, Poor Mike? What's up, Discovery Bay? What's up, JB? So yeah, there's a couple.
What's up?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I put in my 2 weeks, and I also got a new bed.
Good.
It's a very comfortable bed, Nectar.
And you don't want to get out of it, pretty much a bit.
I'm not gonna lie, man. The first night I was sleeping in my bed.
Yeah.
I was so comfortable, like I was giggling.
Okay.
I was just like laying there, and I was just like, kind of like just giggling to myself, like, oh my god, I can't believe how comfortable this is. It's been really good on my back. I've got some back issues. I got some back problems, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm overweight, and I don't work out, and I should be stretching, and I'm sure a lot of it too is probably some neck problems. I got into a car accident, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, and I never went to go to the hospital, never got any checkups, nothing. And over the years, I feel like my body has just been getting worse and getting in more pain, and that could be a result from that car accident. So,
well, are you going to MegaCon? Have you seen the lineup for MegaCon yet, or no?
I've seen some of the lineup. Yeah, it looks awesome. I am Facebook friends with Kevin Boyd, who is in charge of what comic book guests will be appearing at MegaCon. And so he kind of gave like a little update on his page. He had to turn away a bunch of people. That's because
okay. Let's since you know who he turned away, can you tell us who he turned away or no?
Oh no, he doesn't reveal that information. That's like that would be unprofessional of him to do that.
Right. I was
And
curious. I was
Kevin's a
curious.
very, very nice.
No,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Kevin's a very nice person. I met him at MegaCon a few years back
yeah.
when I was working with CBCS at the table,
Right.
and he approached. And when he heard my name, he was like, "Are you Randall Begins?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, we're friends on Facebook." I'm like, "Oh, you're Kevin," you know. So like, yeah, you
Yeah.
know, he's a really, really nice guy. But yeah, he says there's going to be lots more names
Right.
released very soon. He's actually had to go through the process of kind of just like updating everyone, letting them know, like, sorry you didn't get in this year. Sorry, you know. Unfortunately, our very good friend, Eisner Award winner Marco Lopez, did not get accepted into MegaCon. You know, we're still gonna go. He's gonna go with me. We're going to the retailer summit.
Yeah, but he got
being held
the
at MegaCon.
Eisner Award anyways. He just holds up the Eisner Award and walks through the.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, what's funny is he can get into San Diego Comic-Con
There he is.
for free.
Just the book
live.
that we were talking about. What's up, Marco?
Oh, there he is. There he is.
What are you talking about you. Talking about what?
We were just talking.
We were
talking
about you know, unfortunately, we were talking about MegaCon, and we mentioned Kevin Boyd, and I said, you know what, our very good friend, Eisner Award winner Marco Lopez, unfortunately did not get accepted into MegaCon.
Yeah,
but you know, it's okay though. It's okay because you know we're still going to go to MegaCon.
Right.
And then Jeff was joking. He's like, "Yeah, he should just show up there holding the Eisner, and then like automatically, you know, just let in there and give it a table." You know, like Comic-Con, I think would do that, but not MegaCon, not Fan Expo.
I hope you weren't saying anything bad. I don't want to get banned for life.
No, we would never say anything bad about you.
No, or MegaCon.
No, I'm talking about MegaCon. Not me. I don't care what you say about me.
Yeah, why would we talk about MegaCon? It's the greatest convention in the state of Florida.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, one of the biggest actually. Hit them and SuperCon.
No, it is the biggest in the state of Florida. It is the biggest.
Okay.
Georgia's biggest convention is, of course, DragonCon.
DragonCon dwarfs MegaCon.
Yeah. Dude, but let's be real though. DragonCon is literally like
cosplay con more than anything else. That's what I hear.
I was gonna say it's more like you know that TV show the Bachelor, you know, or the Bachelorette. You know, it's literally just a bunch of people going there to have fun and to hook up.
DragonCon is BootyCon.
BootyCon. Yeah. So it's booty everywhere.
Man. So what have you been up to, Jeff?
Not much, man. Not much. Just working a hell of a lot and just catching up on my comics, man. Like reading and stuff like that. Nothing much. What you been up to, Marco?
Before I got in here, I was finishing up an email sending back to a publisher over some notes they sent me on a project. So I was like, I got to reply to that today. I forgot to reply to that yesterday. So I was doing that today. And then Randall hit me up and he's like, hey, did you get the thing from Jeff? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be on in a second. Yeah. And then I was like, I'll just finish replying to this email when I get off this, you know, after we do the Extreme Nerd Table, then I'll just reply back and send it. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. You know, just every day, you know, talking to editors, sending out emails, writing, trying to make it happen.
That's all.
Sending death threats, you know. If you don't let me write this comic book, I'll kill you. I'm just kidding.
Okay, if you had a choice of picking from an indie title, which indie title would you write? If somebody had asked you to write an indie title.
Well, you mean like a licensed title?
Yeah, like a licensed title, like Vampirella, Red Sonja. Which one? Would you
I'd love to write Vampirella. I think Vampirella is a great. I still like the live action movie they did. I know a lot of people don't, but I like it because I think I think with Vampirella, I think the problem with that movie is it really captures the cheesiness of Vampirella. Because let's be honest, I mean, don't get me wrong, Vampirella is a great concept, great character. It's everything that was awesome about horror and sci-fi and all that in the 60s and 70s. But I think that movie that Roger Corman did, I think it was Roger Corman that did with Vampirella. I think the movie came out in the 90s.
96.
Yeah. And it, oh, that's right. You're the vampire.
Yeah. The
And
Vampirella expert.
what was it? Talisa Soto. What was her name?
Yeah, Talisa Soto.
Yeah, she was also in Mortal Kombat, right?
Yeah, as
Yeah.
She was in was it License to Kill? James Bond.
I love her in that Vampirella movie, and I think the movie was good. I think the problem is that it was too real to the 60s Vampirella, which is, she comes from a planet called Draculon, and, the very 60s cheesy sci-fi elements that the original Vampirella had.
The big thing is that they wrote, the creator actually wrote it. The creator actually wrote the script.
Oh, see?
Yeah, so the creator actually wrote the script for the movie.
So, literally, I think it leans so much into that, the whole thing of what Vampirella was, that I think, especially around that time in the 90s, I think that's when they were starting to do the whole, what you knew about Vampirella is not the real origin. In the 90s, I think they were doing that, trying to change it up. It's like, no, she doesn't have that cheesy sci-fi origin, which comes from the vampire planet. So I think when people saw that movie, they were just like, but Vampirella, I would love to write. I'd love to write Red Son. There's a lot of Dynamite books I'd love. I'd love to write.
The Shadow.
Yeah, they have a lot of great characters. I think Dynamite probably is doing the best work with licensed characters right now.
It's probably easier for Marco to list you what characters and what books he doesn't want to write.
Okay.
He likes so much that it's easier to say, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like that. That's it.
So what would you not write?
And not because I don't like it, but I wouldn't write Buffy if they came to me and they said, "Oh, would you write Buffy or Angel?" Just because, I put it this way: I would take it because you don't say no when you're trying to. But if this is a situation like, "Oh, we'll let you," write anything, I wouldn't choose Buffy or Angel just because that's, as much as I love that stuff, there's a fan base there that if you mess up that little, then you're screwed. Honestly.
Well, there's a simple solution for that.
What?
Just don't mess up.
There's also I probably wouldn't do Transformers. Just that comes also with a very too passionate fan base. That's not to say realistically if they did I would, but if this was one of those in a perfect world scenarios you could have your choice and not have to worry about money, then those are the ones I wouldn't do. I would still be passionate if I wrote Transformers and all that stuff.
Hold on, let's give a little attention to Tim here because he kind of just reminds me one of those pets that's come on, I'm right here, pet me, come on. What are you waiting for?
Did he freeze?
No. So what you been up to, Tim?
Trying to figure out my lighting. I'm getting some bad lighting in here now today. I don't know why.
It's looking on our end.
I'm having a drink. I'm gonna have a drink, and I'm gonna tell all you guys to collect comic books. You need to collect comic books because the comic books companies need money.
Nah. They don't need that much money, man. But did you know Dynamite's what was it? Dynamite Comics is a subsidiary of the other. What the hell is the other one? That they're
Dynamic Forces.
Dynamic Forces. I didn't know that.
I found that a while back, but I remember when I first found out. I think it might have been early 2000s. No, wait, because Dynamite's been around since mid 2000s.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think it was maybe a few years in of Dynamite, having been out, for the first few years is when I found that out, and I was like, "Huh, that makes a lot of sense."
I have to point out too. I have to point out one of my favorite things about Dynamite is there's an artist there that I think he still does occasional work with Dynamite. Jonathan Lau. This guy did the art for Kevin Smith's Green Hornet series. And he also did, what was the other one that he did? I think the $6 Million Man or
Yeah, he did $6 Million Man. He's done some Vampirella work.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything that's in Dynamite in their stable, he's pretty much hit.
Yeah, fantastic artist. Like I'm genuinely surprised. Like this guy hasn't been working for Marvel or DC.
I'm not sure if he has cross promoted himself with other comic book companies. I want to say he has. I think I remember seeing some covers that he's done, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, fantastic artist. Like
Yeah,
I think I like his art as much as I like Dan Mora's art.
I think I've seen his art before. I think they put him on that Killer Instinct book also.
Yeah.
He was a cross between like Michael Turner and like J. Scott Campbell.
Let's see. Yeah, he's done a lot of work for Dan.
One thing I can't stand about Campbell is Campbell's noses to certain characters, like how his noses look a little funny, like a lot of
like pointy.
Yeah, really pointy, low. Not like.
I like it. I like that.
It's a little weird. I mean, but
I even like girls that actually have noses like that too.
I was rereading the Wildstorm anniversary hardcover they put out. What was it, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Stop flexing, Mark.
The one
making me jealous.
The white one, the white hardcover, the 25th anniversary or whatever of Wildstorm. I was rereading that, and J. Scott Campbell wrote and drew that 3-page Gen 13 story in there, which was really good. And I really like that. And I reread that Deathblow story that Brandon Choi and Jim Lee did together. That was a good one. It made me miss old school Wildstorm. Not to say that what Warren Ellis did with the Wildstorm wasn't good, but man, that Wildstorm, those old school Wildstorm comics, man, that was something.
That 90s stuff's great.
Yeah.
I forgot to show last week.
Since we're bringing this up, would you guys? How much would you guys pay for a commission if you guys was going to get a commission?
How much would I'll let Randall go first on that.
Wait, say the question again.
Commissions, like if how much would you pay for a commission? How much would you pay for a commission?
I would pay $1. $1 for a commission, because that's all I can afford right now.
But I know that. But I'm saying if you had the money to get a commission,
I had the money. I'd say forget commissions. If I had the money, I'd start my own publishing company, and I'd hire those artists and writers, and I'd create my own comic.
Okay, you have the money to get commissions, but not a publishing company.
Right.
Okay.
Jesus, man.
Come on, man. Just answer the question the right way.
I'm going to give a shout out to a friend of mine, one of my customers, Jeff Tay. Jeff got he got approved for a Jim Lee sketch. He reached out to Jim Lee's rep. So on average, it's about $6,000 for a full body sketch.
And he's retarded.
No, he just sounds jealous.
No, not at all. I don't think Jim Lee's that great of an artist, and I don't think that $6,000 is something that all of his artwork still looks like it's stuck in the 90s. I'm sorry.
That sounds great. I love the 90s.
It would be nice, but not for $6,000.
That's what bringing it up. I found out what Perillos. I found out what Carla Cohan and all those guys are charging right now for commissions, because their commissions are open right now.
A couple thousand, right?
What was it? The Perillo full sketch is 1,000. Like a bust is like
yeah. I don't care about bust. If I'm gonna get a sketch, it's gotta be the whole body.
Whole body is 1,000. Carla Cohan, his girlfriend or his wife or whatever she is charging like 9. And then like bust wise, it's like 900 for him and like 600 for her. So it's like 6 something for her.
Let me educate you guys about something. Do you know anything about artwork? Period.
You use your hands and you
No.
draw
No. The value of artwork. The value of artwork is based on the amount of work was done by the artist. So let's say a Picasso. Picasso did a lot of art. He did a lot of art, and you can get a Picasso for, probably, I think the cheapest one that went was 80 grand for a Picasso. Okay.
Sure.
Now you might say, wow, that's a lot of money, but Picasso's not around anymore doing artwork.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Jim Lee has probably has more artwork out there than Picasso, Da Vinci, everybody combined. By the time he dies, there's going to be so much artwork out there that when it actually makes it to the secondary market as a auction piece, the value is not going to maintain itself. It's not going to hold. Not at $6,000.
I disagree.
I think. Here's the thing. I don't think, and this is my
They're doing it on paper. The paper's not going to last. They're not doing it on canvas. Canvas lasts. There's a big, huge difference on the median. There's a big, huge difference. These people know this. That's the reason why they're charging as much as they are, because he's charging not just for his artwork, he's charging for his time.
I think, and that's the thing. I don't think, honestly, at the end of the day, it's, and at least, because I saw Brett Booth on Twitter before I closed down my Twitter account. I saw Brett Booth on his, and I hadn't seen it before, and I don't think it was ever there before. I think it's something that he put recently. It says $5,000. And honestly, I don't think Brett Booth puts $5,000 because he's like, oh, I'm high and mighty, and I feel I'm worth $5,000. I think it's because he's like, okay, well, if I'm going to take out of my time that could be, put towards doing other paid work that elevates my career, then I'm going to charge you $5,000 if you so badly want to sketch, Yeah. Because basically it takes away from him doing work for DC or other publishers or even his own creator-owned stuff, which he's been slowly working on his own creator-owned book. So if he's going to take away his own time from that, to do your sketching, he's like, yeah, then make it worth my while because you're basically sucking out my time that could be spent on doing other stuff that advances my career. I think ultimately that's what, comes down to for Jim Lee as well. Well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well get, I might as well at least make a lot of money out of it.
And here's the thing. Here's really what really makes it or breaks it for me. You see, you can invest money in a sketch from an artist up front and say, hey, this is what I want. You can even bring pieces of artwork to give him some reference points. This is how I want it to look. This is kind of the style that I want or whatever in your own style. This is the pose that I want. But I tell you what, I can't tell you how many times I've had friends of mine buy artwork for $60, $80, $100, $150, $250 was probably the highest point one of my friends paid for artwork. And the art came back, rushed, looks like shit. The brushwork was horrible. Some of it was just penciled. I mean, I've seen a book that got a sketch work by Brian Pulido. You would think, wow, Brian Pulido would take his time. He did a CGC book with a silver Sharpie. He did a sketch, and it looked horrible. It ruined the book. The book.
Was it that Evil Ernie one you're talking about? That
there you
go. What Pete was talking. What Pete was telling us about.
Yeah. Pete sold it. Pete sold it because he didn't want it in his collection anymore. He thought it was the ugliest thing he ever did. And he paid way too much money for it, and it just ruined the book. Ruined the book. When you go and buy a Picasso, you know what you're buying because you see it. It's already done. If you're going to buy a Jim Lee sketch, if I want to buy an original Jim Lee sketch, I'd rather buy something that he's already done that I like than try to get him to interpret something that I've already got in my head going, oh, my God, this awesome Batman swinging on his, on his bat rope,
I think by getting them to do a sketch, obviously it depends on what they're comfortable with drawing, Like if you were to say, hey, Jim Lee, I want you to draw a naked Vampirella. Jim Lee would probably tell you no.
I don't think so.
And I'll take my money elsewhere.
I don't think so.
But for me, I like if I had the money that Jeff has and I were to get a full, head to toe, full body sketch, I'm gonna get Electrical Blue Superman. I'm gonna ask Jim Lee, and you know what? I'm pretty confident that Jim Lee has never drawn an Electrical Blue Superman. So to have that in my collection and to be like, hey, I'm the only one that has this.
Quick to the internet. I think ultimately at the end of the day.
Go ahead, Mal.
No, I think it's ultimately at the end of the day, is your purpose for the sketch so that when you're old you can sell it, or so that your family can sell it when you die, or is it just for you? If it's just for you, get it where the hell you want, you know. But you know, if it's for something else, if it's because you want value, then you know, be more particular.
Yeah.
See, now here's the thing. I would say to Randall, that would be a waste of time and money to get Electric Superman. The reason why is because Electrical Superman has very little detail to his costume. And what Jim Lee is known for is his hyper detail in his pencils.
Yep.
So when you think of the two things together, it's a waste of time. To be honest with you, you're gonna get a really good Electric Blue Superman with very little detail, with Jim Lee's imagining. Yep. Who knows? You know, maybe he'll be like Rob Lee, fielded up with pockets and shoulder pads.
He's gonna draw the electricity, and the electricity is gonna be like spread out with like little details here and there. Like they'll be detailing it. Or do you think I should get him to do a Deadpool drawing and just tell him to put as many pouches on Deadpool around his whole entire body for the details?
Or just sketch you, Randall. Just tell him to sketch you as Electric Blue Superman. That more detail. That's more detail than.
The other thing I would do too is I would ask Jim Lee's permission, saying, "Listen, since I'm purchasing this full head and body, sketch, I would like to use this to put on a exclusive variant for my business for like the."
He's gonna charge you even more. He's gonna charge you even more.
You might turn around and say, you're paying for the sketch, but yeah, since you own the drawing and you want to use that to put on your own exclusive variant for the
Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way.
All right,
nope, doesn't work that way.
Our chemist got a question for all of us. I'm assuming this question is for all of us. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me bring it up.
Yeah, I would. I love John Romita Jr.
John
Romita Jr. It would be John Romita Jr., Punisher, Ghost Rider, and Wolverine.
Some of his stuff is okay. Some of his stuff is hot garbage. Some of it.
Oh, that's it. I'm done. Ask this group.
I'll tell you the reason why I won't pay for a John Romita Jr. sketch is because I already got one and he did it for me for free. And he used to do sketches for free. So when he would sign his books, he would do a head sketch of either Daredevil or something like that over in a blank corner. I've got the Daredevil series that came out. It was the first really heavy stock Daredevil one that had a nice little
the Man Without Fear
foil cover with red. Yeah, no.
Okay, was that the one that Frank Miller?
Yeah, it was a Frank Miller one. Yeah. There you go.
It was the 4 series, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was 4 or 6 or something like that. But he did a nice little sketch of Daredevil's head for free. Didn't even have to ask for it. He was just doing it. Because that's what comic book people used to do back in the day. Because they were artists, because they cared about the art. They would
now
sign
they call those remarks.
For free.
Before CGC existed.
Yeah.
Now they call those remarks.
Before CGC existed. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I understand.
Yeah, we call them remarks, right.
I understand though why before I say what I'm going to say. It's been driving me crazy the whole time because I went to the gym earlier today.
Oh boy!
And then I had to go and get stuff, and then bring food and all that stuff. But so then I jumped onto this thing, and I'm thinking to myself before I jump on this chat, I'm like, I think I've worn this T-shirt before. I hope nobody notices. And then I'm like, have I worn this T-shirt before? And I'm like, shit, I did. I wore this shirt on the first video that I did. So I'm like, damn it. But what I was gonna say about creators, I understand. At first I was kind of like, when I was seeing that creators were charging, I was like, But then I understood why some do, or the mentality behind it is because conventions nowadays, they'll bring these creators in and they basically will be like, look who we have here. And these conventions, they're not the for-profit ones, are making all this money, and then they're not paying any of these creators, when they go to these conventions. But they're bringing in and they're ensuring that this actor is going to make this amount of money, or this guy that was the 5th zombie on Walking Dead is going to do this. And so I can understand that mentality of like, you know, people are like, "Ooh, Fifth Zombie, can I have your autograph?" For the comic book creators, they're like, "I don't give a fuck about you."
Let me ask you this: do you think DC Comics pays Jim Lee $6,000 for a cover?
No, but he gets the
They
salary.
pay him more.
He gets the salary. I don't think he gets a page rate anymore.
He gets the salary.
He gets a salary.
That means he has to pump out. That means he has to pump out so much work within a certain period of time if he's on salary.
Yeah,
right.
But I think they have him at a minimum because basically he's now, you know, he's basically doing the whole what is he, a co-president with Didio or co-publisher?
I think co-publisher.
Like
Yeah.
And
co-publisher.
he's going to be getting another promotion soon because it sounds like he might even be like shifting and moving towards DC films.
So
do you want to know why I think Jim Lee is what did you say, Randall? $6,000?
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard he charges roughly $6,000 for a full body sketch.
Do you know what that's telling me? That's telling me he doesn't want to do it.
What's that telling you?
He's raised his price so high that it's become so out of most people's reach that he's like, if you really want to pay that much, if you're that stupid to pay that much, I'll take it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is like I think Jim is reaching a point where
he doesn't have the time anymore.
You know how Jeff was like saying, "Oh, there's a bust, and then you can draw the face, or you can draw half the body." He knows that people are there's certain types of people with certain kinds of money. So if the average person wants to get a Jim Lee sketch, they're going to go with the cheapest Jim Lee sketch, and so it's easy for him. He can pump out head sketches. He was on DC Daily, and he did a Batman head sketch in less than 1 minute. So if he's like, hey, I've got 1,000 people that want a head sketch from me, right? Or let's drop the number down, 60. He can draw 60 head sketches in 1 hour.
Here's what's bake the stick, gotta say.
Yep, there you go.
Too many people
bake
want
the
stuff.
snake. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's one of the reasons. Like there was this whole thing where I remember a long time ago. There's this whole thing with Neil Gaiman and this library and Neil Gaiman's fee and all that for appearing at this library. And he ended up donating the fee anyway. He was going to donate it anyway. He ended up donating it to a charity. But one of the things is when you found out what his fee is, which I think it was something like $50,000. Neil Gaiman isn't going out to libraries. You know what I mean? Like on a regular basis. He's not trying to do it. He hardly even goes to convention. I don't think he's ever gone to convention.
I don't think so either. I don't think he's been to a con at all either.
So basically, but for him to go to a library, he's like, okay, well, I gotta travel there. I gotta if he has to take his kids with him, I gotta take time away from writing this novel. That this publisher is like, where are you at with your novel and all that? And again, it's going back to the thing we said. You're taking away time, so he's got to be like, okay, because I'm sure he gets a lot of requests from libraries and bookstores and all these things. But he's like, okay, I'm going to price it up to here, so that way, if you really want me, then you're going to pay that, and then screw it, and then I have to make the decision: do I want to do this because they're willing to pay it, or do I not want it and then go back to my writing?
I will say this though. At least he's doing commissions. There are other bigger artists out there that just refuse to do commissions at all. They won't give you a price. They won't give you anything. I hear Greg Capullo. I love Greg Capullo's art. If back to Jeff Wan's question, if he's if you can get, how much would you pay, And sometimes it's not about how much you can pay. It's just hoping that the artist that you like is willing to even draw. Todd McFarlane. You think anybody can just call up Todd McFarlane or call his wrap up and be like, "Hey, I want a Todd McFarlane"? No, Todd McFarlane.
I think Todd.
Okay, bring it up, Todd McFarlane now.
Yeah.
What do you think he doesn't have? How he has a Hulk? There's a Hulk book that looks like his what is it? Spider-Man 300 book where it's like like this cover here, where it's like this, where he has a Hulk, in the jumping motion and.
Okay.
Do you think he? My question is, do you think he doesn't have, he condenses his time way too little, and he doesn't have enough time, and he just, sketching the same sketch out?
He draws for fun. If he feels like drawing, he's going to draw for fun.
Well, he's always doing those art things on his Facebook page, the Facebook Lives art thing. But Todd McFarlane, I think it's slightly different than Jim Lee. They're in a similar place where Jim Lee's co-publisher, but I think Todd McFarlane is, I think running, Todd McFarlane Productions, the comic book side, and then also running Todd Toys. I think that's a total different value than being. I'm not saying that like Jim Lee somehow doing lesser work, but I think time-wise, it's a little different. So Todd is not going to go around to conventions and be like, "Hey, who wants this?" Because he's like, "I don't fucking got time for that." He's not even thinking of going to that. He's like, people already know who I am. I don't need to go to conventions.
But the thing is,
my other question was,
Todd and Jim Lee can do whatever they want.
Right. My other question about McFarlane was
offers people who actually purchase personal full body sketches from him, like professional sketches. Like I've seen a lot of not a lot, but I've seen some of like the personal sketches, like the head to toe. And let me tell you something, Jim Lee doesn't half-ass it. Like, he knows that you're giving him $6,000. He's going to give you $6,000 worth of his art with the detail and the work. But I mean,
you hope.
So far, he's delivered as far as from what I've seen.
I have no interest in sketches anymore. I remember in 2007, I think it was, I had gotten a Todd Knock. And this was like 2007, so 12 years ago. And I had worked at Read More Comics back when I was friends with Scott, the owner back then. And I was working full-time at Read More Comics. And they went off to a convention. I think it might have been MegaCon, or I think they might have went off to San Diego or New York, whatever. And I jokingly said, "Oh, get me a Todd Knock Impulse sketch," jokingly. And he came back with a, it was done on the comic book backing boards. And it was in color, Todd Knock Impulse, like from the chest up. Beautiful piece. In color, all that. And I was like, and he's like, "Oh, here you go, man." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah." And it was a great piece. I ended up having to sell that a while back because, for money reasons, we need money. But, it made me realize, like, I mean, I don't really, when it comes to art sketches, I don't really care. More, what I want to get into eventually down the line is original art pages. And that's a for me thing. Just because I love, sequential art. I was originally going to be an artist, a comic book artist and that whole thing. Part of it is going to be, I'm going to want pages just for myself, frame, have, collection, a me thing. I don't care about their value. And then there might be certain ones here and there that I get because of I'm like, oh, I don't ever plan to sell one alive. But if worse comes to worse, or when I die, my kids can go ahead and sell it, and it'll be worth money. Because there's that little bit of no matter whether you collect for yourself or for the value. Even if you collect for yourself, there is still that part of you that's like, ooh, what's the value of this? Because it's inherent in there.
Here's the thing too, and this is going the way of the dodo. You're not going to find sequential artwork like that anymore. Everybody's using digital technology. Everybody's drawing on their laptops, on their computers.
Right.
So that's the reason why a lot of these artists can cut their time down working on a book, because they can literally cut and paste certain poses, do touch-ups, and it looks like a completely different sketch.
Absolutely.
And they could save the original one and create a new one. Yeah. I mean, how many times have you seen that particular pose? Yeah, right there. I mean, that has been, aped so many times, it's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But,
my question was, my big question was, have you seen any artist that swipes himself? Like Todd swiped himself a couple of times. Where this cover is, I seen it on a Hulk and I seen it on the Spider-Man 300 cover. You know what I mean?
Todd's one of the first artists. Todd's one of the first artists to go digital. So he looked at that tool exactly as what it was meant for, as a tool. So he would literally take his own artwork and ape it, because he could he could get all the pencils mostly out of the way, change a couple of things digitally. It's a completely new character, and he did it in half the time of the original penciling that he did.
Right.
Somebody meant, I forgot what artist. It was a known artist who was mentioning that's an issue. Not an issue, but he was saying for artists, he was saying, like, at the very least, do your pencils on a board and then because a lot of artists they also will do their pencils on a board, and then they scan it in, and then they do their inks on the computer. And this artist, I forgot his name. This was like sometime last year. He was saying, do that. Don't not do something on a board because he's like, realistically, you may not be the hot thing forever, or you may never be the hot thing. You may be the one who's continually getting work, but you're not a hot name. But at some point, you're going to need to sell something, and your art pages, sequentials, are going to sell you more than sketches. So he's like, going totally digital. He's like, there's no point unless you're like such a hot name that you feel like, or you know how to work your money well, invest your money and stuff like that. But he's like, always do something, at least pencils, and then transfer them and then do the inks on the computer, or pencils and inks. But he's like, don't go completely digital. And I agree with that. If I'd still been an artist, that's something that I would have done.
Half and half.
Well, let me ask you this: if you're someone like Jim Lee and you're under contract with DC Comics, and you're on the payroll to where you're got to put out so much work for so much time, do you even own your sequentials?
Yeah, he does. It's like they will never not let him own his sequentials just because that was that whole huge drama back in the 80s with Jack Kirby and Marvel and Jim Shooter and all that stuff. And Alan Moore trying to help out Jack Kirby. So even though he's an employee, he still owns his sequentials, which I'm pretty sure Jim Lee, just because out of habit, pretty sure he probably does at least his pencils. I don't think he even eats himself. He still does the boards because it's like he knows the value in his boards.
Yeah. He knows that if I do it digitally, I'm throwing money away.
What's his name? Was it Juan Jimenez? Is that the name? The artist who drew Super Sons. That was Juan Jimenez, right? Who drew Super Sons?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
I know
Phil
Jimenez, but
not Phil Jimenez. Hold on.
No.
He's from Spain. He's a comic artist from Spain. He's really, really good. I think he was the artist on Super Sons. He does. I probably got his name wrong, but he does complete digital. Because I remember I was watching a video where he was at I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. It was one of the DC booths, and one of the DC Nation people. Jorge Jimenez is the artist. And he was at the DC Nation thing, and he was on stage, and he was doing a whole drawing thing and all that. And they were asking him, he's like, "Are you completely digital? Do you do boards?" He's like, "No, I'm completely digital, completely." So I was shocked by that because he's such a gorgeous artist. Like if you look at Jorge Jimenez's work, it's so beautiful. And I was like, really? No sequential pages? I was like, damn. I was shocked by that.
See, but my thing is, what about if their system gets deleted? That's all their art gone. You know what I mean? If the computer crashes,
there's got to be somebody backing it up.
No, there's definite backups.
I know that, but I'm saying, what about if these guys weren't smart enough to back it up and it goes crashing? Then they got no, you know what I mean?
At least back in the 90s, and before that, you had film. Everything was
I would say worst case scenario, you find good copies of the pages that were printed and you scan them.
Yeah, I think they tried that with, was it Checker Publishing tried that with the Alan Moore Supreme run. I think people found out those were scans or something like that. I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I remember there was some comic book and then people weren't happy about it. But that's the thing, right? But the thing is, if they sell their boards, it doesn't matter if somehow they lose the file for the comic. Like, we can't print this in a trade. They're gonna have to go hunt down. They're gonna have to go hunt down boards. Yeah. So ultimately, it still doesn't matter. But it's interesting the way some creatives choose to work in this ever-changing digital age of comics.
Well, I'm sure places like DC Comics have backup servers beyond backup servers, as well as the original artwork archives, as well as encrypted services to where nobody can even hack into there to steal any of their properties or material. We're talking, huge conglomerate corporation.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm saying, what about if he's an independent artist and he ends up not
screwing himself? He screws himself over. Which I wonder if if DC maybe still does stuff on film, because I know a lot of the studios still have film backup.
Yeah.
They have digital backups, but they also have film backup. And so it makes me wonder about that, about like DC and Marvel. Maybe they still, also just in case, they're like, oh, we'll have the film backup too. We'll have a hard copy, an actual something that we can use in case, I don't know, this digital shit goes belly up or something.
Since we're talking about,
I'm pretty sure they keep file copies.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about backups and copies and there's a special one I have to report here that they need to do. They need to release the Snyder Cut.
I thought he was gonna do a thing like
Superman 123.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So I thought it was gonna be Superman 123 something.
Oh, we'll see.
I'm confident that they're still gonna do it. Was it the HBO Max that's gonna be released or launched? I think in May or June.
It's May. If they release the Snyder Cut, I'll get HBO Max on day one. I mean, I'm gonna get HBO Max anyway, but I'll make sure to get it on day one if they do that. Just because I love watching different cuts of films. I'm always fascinated.
What if they release the Snyder Cut and it sucks worse?
Yeah,
it could. My thing isn't whether it's good or not. My thing is I just love different cuts of films. Like that, there's a lot of movies. If you look at Legend, the movie Ridley Scott with Tom Cruise. Yeah, Blade Runner. Blade Runner has I have the box set with the 5 different cuts. 6, yeah. So there's that. Damn. Legend has 3 different cuts technically. Legend from Ridley Scott has the theatrical cut with the Tangerine Dream score. There's a longer, 10-minute longer European cut, and then there is the director's cut that has the Jerry Goldsmith score. Never Ending Story has 2 different cuts. There's the German cut that has I think it's 3 or 4 minutes different scenes of longer scenes. They're a little bit longer, and then it has different credit intro, and it's got a different score because I have the European Blu-ray with the English special edition with the English dub, and it's an American film, and then I also have the American special edition of Never Ending Story. So every time there's a different cut out there, I'm like, I gotta see it. I'm just fascinated by choices.
Army of Darkness.
Yeah. I'm just all
American cut and the UK cut.
I did not know
the Professional. The Professional's got the American cut and the UK cut. Or the French cut.
Payback with Mel Gibson. There's the crappy theatrical cut, and then the director's cut that came out in 2005, 2006 or 7 on DVD special edition. So I just love the idea of because you see when you watch these different cuts, you see how much a film can totally change, especially if you watch the intended cut and then later on the cut you saw in theater. You really shows you the power of editing, which people don't get. When people bitch about movies, I'm always like, well, the problem is the moniker is a movie gets written 3 times: the screenplay, when it's shot, and then when it's edited. So, and editing can change something so much. Editing can change the intention of a character's, what the character is like. You know what I mean? What he's trying to say, and people don't realize that. A
great example is Thor 2. When the director of Thor 2, he was like, "That's not my film. I didn't do that." He filmed so many scenes that never made it into the movie, and then you had the Marvel execs and the people who took over with the editing team. They re-edited the film and they edited it to how they wanted it done. So it's just crazy. That's what I love about cinema. You can't really get that in comics. That's the one difference between film and comics.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about different cuts. Let's not forget to mention Batman Beyond.
There's a different cut of that too.
Oh yeah.
God, I haven't seen that one in forever. But isn't that just you get to see when Joker is shot? And then there's, I think, a curse word or something like that.
Yeah, there's a final cut where you literally see, I think that they didn't show you the Joker dying. They basically you see him electrocuted, and then you see off panel you see the character's reaction oh. And then in the final cut, you see the Joker. You see Robin actually pull out a gun, and he actually shoots the Joker, and you see the blood. And you see him actually die. That was pretty cool.
It's I remember that cut. My only thing with that cut is the intensity of that scene changes with seeing the gun and everything. But I don't think it really like if that kind of never existed, I don't think I'd really care. Because honestly, sometimes with certain things, it's you don't need to see what happens.
Yeah.
The old horror thing, sometimes it's the shadows,
Yeah.
you know, or what the fear of what you don't see is more powerful than actually seeing the creature with the rubbery effects.
It's always this kind of like, I think this dumb rule where it's like, you know, oh, if it's an animated film for kids, you can't have murder, you can't have like someone getting killed, you know, like for perfect example, perfect example is
the Barbara Gordon,
many of us I'm sure have seen
Killing Joke.
Transformers the animated film, and we see Optimus Prime dying, and their thought process is, oh, he's a robot, robots can die, no problem. But then you go to the G.I. Joe animated film, and when you see Duke struck by this snake spear from Serpentor right into the chest, you know, and then you see one of the other GI Joes starts crying. He's like, Joe, you know, and then like at the end of the film, they threw in like, hey guys, Duke's gonna pull through. He's gonna be all right, you know, like they can't die. Like, they can't die, you know. Like it's like, you know, oh no, it's not good for the kid, you know.
I don't think Don Bluth got that memo of you can't kill in a kids movie.
But Disney's been killing people in kids movies since day one.
Give me an example.
Bambi's mom.
Not a human being.
As a matter of fact, they're changing the rules completely because now we're starting to see almost like full-blown love scenes in kids movies and gender swapping in kids movies and gender stereotypes in kid movies, and kids are coming out scratching their heads going, what the fuck, what was all that about?
I'm still waiting for
getting in the film.
I'm waiting for somebody who was murdered in a Disney film, animated film.
Bambi's mom.
Bambi's mom.
I told you, not human.
No, you said somebody who got killed in a Disney film, not somebody human.
By somebody, I mean human. Give me a human being that was murdered in a Disney film.
One that doesn't even matter, because literally, if you ask everybody, if you ask everybody when they were a kid, except for maybe you, because maybe you're cold because you came from a cold family. If you ask every kid when they watched Bambi with their parents when they were little, like 5 years old or whatever, like, oh my god,
you know what?
When you saw Bambi's mom get killed, was that traumatizing? Was it powerful? They're gonna say yes. Same thing with Mufasa dying.
I was like, I didn't really see the mom get killed. They just insinuated it.
Every villain.
Every
villain dies.
Every villain dies. Every villain dies.
But they're not. Give me a villain that died.
Let's see.
Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I haven't seen that one.
The one who doesn't.
Guy falls from a great height.
Yeah.
Did he fall on his own? Was he pushed?
I'm sure he still dies, Randall.
Beauty and the Beast.
Gaston.
Hello.
He fell to his death. He killed himself.
No.
That doesn't.
He didn't purposely kill himself.
That was not.
And a 6-year-old can tell the difference between that, right? A 6-year-old's going to go, oh, it's okay. He killed himself.
No, a 6-year-old's probably like, he's probably okay. He's probably fell and he's hurt. He didn't die.
You see the beast get attacked by those wolves. You see the beast get attacked by Gaston. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, and the beast survived. He's a beast.
And then how about the fact that in every Disney film it always begins with "and the mother is dead."
No. So like in a lot of these Disney films, right? A lot of these Disney films, the bad guy is usually always at fault for killing themselves. Like if you watch Tarzan, right? Remember when the guy was going after Tarzan trying to kill him and he got tied up in the vines?
Yeah, because that's the whole morality of it. The morality plays.
All of a sudden, he's like just wild crazy and he falls to his death and he like basically strangles himself.
That's the whole morality of the play of it. Is that their greed, that their bigotry, all this stuff is going to kill them in the end. You know?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I can care less about death. When I was young, you know what fucking destroyed me? Fantasia. Mickey Mouse and the fucking brooms. That gave me nightmares.
The broom's just jumping around to the music?
They weren't. No, they were filling the castle up with water, and then Mickey was out of control, and he was chopping the brooms up with an axe, and then every little piece of wood would turn into another broom, and they'd carry 2 more buckets of water, and it was an onslaught. Mickey was completely, he was drowning really, and he was just about to drown, and then the wizard comes and takes him and pulls him out.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, technically, Snow White is dead.
Yeah.
Through a huge chunk of that movie.
Yeah, and they put him in a glass coffin.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah, they put her in a glass coffin.
She was under a spell.
Nope, she was dead. She was dead. She was dead.
No. They said that if she wasn't kissed by a certain time, she would be dead.
Dude, she was literally no kid knows she's in a coma, magic coma. Okay.
Because those kids are stupid.
Hold on.
I'm pretty sure those kids were you.
Here's one for you. How about Roger Rabbit?
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe that's a Disney film.
Yes, it is. It comes from Buena Vista. Disney owns Buena Vista.
Tomato. Disney, Buena Vista.
And it's got Disney and Warner Brothers characters in it. And it's a PG film.
So what film got
killed? It's a kid's movie.
Yeah.
And you know what? Here's what scares the hell out of me too. Cinderella. Okay? Yeah. Cinderella, you know that she thinks she's in love, but really and truly she's completely empty in her heart, like her glass slipper, because Prince Valiant ain't doing shit for her after they get married.
You know, these
still no.
That's called metaphor.
These Disney films are see. You're not seeing the layers, Randall. These Disney films are a lot darker than people give them credit for. And there's a lot more going on in these movies. I understand it. When you watch Animaniacs, you only got the funniness. You didn't get the subversive level of the jokes. Right. You didn't see the adult humor. You just saw the kid humor in Animaniacs.
I saw the kid humor in Animaniacs because when I watched that, I was a kid. I'm sure if I watch it now, I get it.
Oh, so somehow you were smarter to see what other kids couldn't see in Disney films, but you only saw the kid humor in Animaniacs.
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
What I'm telling you, I didn't see as a kid. I was like, whatever, it's a cartoon.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
What I'm saying what I see now. You said that I saw it as a kid. I didn't.
No, because you were talking about those kids are stupid. But you were a kid when you watched that film. Are you somehow saying that like you knew better than those kids back then?
No, I was just as stupid as those kids.
That's the whole point we were trying to make here. We're not seeing it from an adult point of view. We're seeing it from a kid's point of view.
Oh no, I was talking from an adult point of view.
Why would you be doing that? They're not made for adults. They're made for kids, and adults can also enjoy them. But the primary audience is children. They don't care about you. You don't mean 2 shits for them. You're not going to ask your parents for toys.
Hey, look, every kid is going to be an adult unless they die as a kid. But you won't see that in Disney. Anyways.
Yeah, you would. It's just the kid's going to turn into something first, and then...
I wouldn't pay that much money for somebody's artwork. Let's go back to that period. Boom. Wouldn't pay that much money. I'd rather diversify and take that money and buy several different keys. And that way I have a chance at a better gamble of having one of them skyrocket through the roof, and I'll have a better investment.
So let me ask you this. These keys that you buy, they're to turn around and sell. They're not for your personal collection.
Or maybe they're for both for him.
No, there's comics I would never sell. They're going in my casket when I die. They're gonna get charred up with me.
Right. But what you were saying earlier was like you said that you would rather spend your money on buying keys than buying a sketch. So if you're buying those keys, are they keys that you're gonna keep for yourself, or are they keys that you're planning to turn around and sell?
Either or, it really doesn't matter, because in the end, death gets us all, and it's all going to be whether or not it's going to be valuable down the line for our prodigies to take over, our children to take, to let them have and sell. Yeah. Jim Lee's still alive. 2 years from now, Jim Lee can get hit with a pedophile suit, and all of a sudden everything that he ever did is going to be in the gluts in a dumpster fire is what will happen.
No,
you never know, because there's one thing you can't rely on, and that's people.
Actually, I don't know if something if it turns out and I've wondered about that before. I don't know if a modern day popular artist, like this person is turns out to be a pedophile or something. I don't know if that would still affect their art in a negative way. Because I mean, everyone knows H.P. Lovecraft was a raging racist, and his work is still popular. So and I still enjoy reading H.P. Lovecraft, even though I know he was a raging racist against everybody.
Sure.
So
Sure, I totally get that because it's been there's been this cycle where maybe when he was first discovered and people didn't like him and there was a certain following because of the darkness of his tales, that he had a certain audience. But now that he's gone through this cycle where people go, okay, so he was a racist, but his art or his work, his stories really did have some creativity. There was a different plane of existence that he was existing on when it comes to his tales.
Since we are talking about like older artists and writers and stuff like that, and they were racists, it really makes me think, like back then, like 1600s, 1700s, right? Like how racist were all those writers and artists back then? Like, can you imagine William Shakespeare as a racist? And everyone's like, "Oh, I love Shakespeare. Oh, I love Shakespeare." But Shakespeare could have been like, "You know what? I don't like those black people."
Well, I don't think he was because, like, what is it? Isn't it? Was it Othello? There's one play he has where there's a black lead. If I'm not mistaken.
Othello.
Yeah, Othello. So, like, I don't think Shakespeare was such an artist of his time. He wasn't an artist at the time. I think he was an artist that was trying to be ahead of his time. So I don't know if maybe there would have been some ignorance on issues on societies or whatever other cultures, but I don't think he would have been a racist.
We'll never know.
Well, see, here's the thing. We were just talking about this at my theater. Othello has a film out that has Sir Laurence Olivier as Othello, a white man in blackface.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty
You can still buy that film. But you know what I'll tell you? I'll challenge you. Go try to find a copy of Soul Man anywhere.
Oh yeah, that's a tough one to find.
Well, maybe if Soul Man was good.
I'll tell you right now, though. I'll find copies of Tropic Thunder out there.
Of course.
Sure. Did you see his interview on Joe Rogan and how he explained his involvement with Tropic Thunder? Yeah. To me, that totally justified his performance. He was an actor trying to show how stupid actors are when trying to accommodate his audience and his fan base with characterization. It was brilliant.
So this brings up an interesting question that I want to ask. So like perfect example is I forgot his name, but he wrote Green Lantern in the 80s, and then he also co-created Prime for Malibu, and it turned out he was a child molester. He had the whole thing, I think I don't know if he's gone to court yet, but he got arrested.
J.G. Jones?
No, not J.G. Jones. It was, hold on, let me look up. I'm sure somebody might say it in the chat. He was the writer of the Prime comic from Malibu Comics. It is Gerard Jones.
Yeah.
Gerard Jones turned out to be a child molester. So he turned out to be, not a molester, but child pornography. Child pornography. Sorry.
Child pornography. There you go.
Yeah. Child pornography. So the question is, do you think that his past work should never be reprinted? Because I remember DC was going to put out a collection of his, I think it was Green Lantern or something of his work, and then they decided not to after that whole thing came out of the child pornography. So do you think that, when it gets revealed that somebody's a racist or, child pornography or a rapist or anything that's bad, just all the bad stuff that nobody, wishes anybody to be or do upon somebody else, do you think a company that then has all this work that person did, should they just be like, we'll never put it out? Or should they put it out and then maybe a percentage of it goes to a charity? Or like, what is your opinion on that? Does it make you not want to get that work anymore, that past work?
Yes and no. I'm a Green Lantern fan, so I want to have everything that's Green Lantern.
Right.
Even though he worked on it. I think part of the reason, if they're like, we don't want to reprint it because there's maybe a contract where if they do reprint it, he gets money, and they don't want to pay, they don't want to give money to somebody who, because in turn it makes it look like they support him.
So, right.
You know, so it's one of those like, you know, if they didn't have to give him money, like you said, it can go to a charity. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. But yeah, no, I mean, like it's still printed. It's still, maybe it's part of continuity, maybe it's not. I don't know. But
I'm not sure how that works, Randall, because I'm not sure that sometimes when you get busted for some certain levels of felonies, you lose certain inalienable rights, such as contracts you had written in the past.
Oh, okay.
Because of you fucked up.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I would do is I would probably tell, I'd solicit it in Diamond, and I would see what kind of response it gets by orders alone. Let the fans decide.
Right.
Because for me,
if they order it, they order it.
Because for me, I can see it from the point of view of, no, I don't want to get this piece of shit's work anymore. You know, it's past work.
Right.
You don't want to support that person anymore. But then I can also see it from the point of view of like the people that work with him on those books shouldn't be screwed out of royalties, shouldn't be screwed out of, you know, the recognition of that work. Because, you know, comic books isn't one person. Comic books is made by a team.
Right.
So, you know, so then that whole team is getting screwed because this guy couldn't, you know, stop himself from being a piece of crap. You know?
Right. I do want to point out, since Gerard Jones' name was brought up, I was going through like the DC Universe app, and I was going through like the movies, like what they have in their catalog, and they had the Superman documentary. This was the documentary that they made like right as Superman Returns came out, and so you have all these people who are being interviewed.
He's on it, isn't he?
Huh?
Isn't he in it, Gerard Jones?
Gerard Jones. Not only is Gerard Jones in it.
Oh boy.
Kevin Spacey is narrating it, and of course, it's produced by Bryan Singer. So like, when you see all of these names, and then you're like, "This is on the DC Universe app." Like, I was kind of surprised, like they kept that documentary on there because of like, just those three names alone, and I was just like, "Ooh."
You know,
we've got Perry here, and he's saying that Alex Ross and Perillo could go to jail and he'd still buy their original artwork. And that's totally fine. I think that's what we should do. You should leave it in the hands of the fans. Yeah. Let the fans decide of what it is they want. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, like ultimately, like at the end of the day, like for me, I don't you know, I don't look at anybody if they're like, oh well, I'm still gonna get this past stuff, or I'm still gonna get this past art because I'm a fan of it. I don't look at any negatively and say like, oh, how dare you? You know what I mean? That's everyone's, you know, personal choice to make. But I do think
there's going to be a movement where things like, you know, sexual deviancies is going to be completely acceptable, and it's going to be with anything, and it's just going to be that's just what's going to happen to this world. It's just the way it's going. So you know, it's there already. It's slowly turning that corner. We've got people who are identifying. There was a sheriff. We're getting into politics now, but we've got a sheriff who is, you know, claiming that he is a black man. He's a white dude, but he's got a Hispanic name. But apparently, somewhere in his bloodline, he has a black grandfather, and that makes him black. So it wasn't racially motivated.
Yeah, but
that's his defense. I kid you not. That is his defense.
Interesting.
And I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah, interesting.
Really?
But my thing is,
you know?
Question was asking. Another question is, didn't something happen with J.G. Jones too? Like some type of child pornography thing or something or another?
No, not J.G. Jones. I think
it was Gerald Jones.
Yeah, it was Gerard Jones. J.G. Jones, I think, recently had I think it was last year or the year before, he had a cancer thing.
Oh, okay. That's what it was. I was wondering. I'm like, I get them both confused every once in a while.
you get cancer and child molestation, child pornography confused?
The name.
Oh, Gerard Jones, J.G. Jones. No.
It's like someone's like, I have cancer, and then Jeff's like, I'm sorry, you were molested.
Anyways.
Anyway, back to what we were talking about, but
yeah. because there was there's always because you're always looking forward to the these type of works, and then and I always feel bad for the people if the person turns out to be a piece of garbage human being. And you have to, but then as a fan, you're kind of like, man, take a negative and make it a positive. Then you still put out that work, and then donate a chunk of that money that you're going to make off that work to charitable organizations that fight against what this piece of garbage human being did.
Well, that's like the things that happened with Kevin Spacey. I was like, ooh, that's crazy. But then at the same time, I'm like, I still enjoy his performance as an actor. I'm still going to enjoy some of the films that he was in. It's like you kind of have to separate the art from the person, the individual. Yeah.
I can do that to a certain extent on stuff. If it's more like, if it's a novelist, because even though you have editors involved to help you shape your novel and make you a better writer, but if a novelist turned out to be a child molester, I would just be or had child pornography, I'd be like, and I'm done.
Yeah.
But when it comes with ensemble work like comic books and movies, I'm just like, I really can't, there's a bunch of people involved with that movie. I can't just be like, let's throw that whole movie in the garbage and never release it.
See, it's kind of like really and truly, I guess we could, the ultimate version of this is like Bill Cosby. I grew up watching Bill Cosby. I grew up watching him in Fat Albert. I loved Bill Cosby. And then when he did his other TV shows, God, I loved him in I Spy. Damn, dude, he was awesome in I Spy. And then this whole thing about women, and I'm like, wait a minute, why are we? Yeah, why are we judging this guy? I wasn't there. I'm sorry if it happened to these women, or if these women believe that it happened to them. But I read some of the stories, and I'm like, wait a minute, this woman was 17 years old, and she was at the Playboy Mansion. Where the fuck were her parents?
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Why was she 17 years old at the Playboy Mansion? What the fuck was that about?
Yeah, that question doesn't get asked. That question right there doesn't get asked.
That question doesn't get asked. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on? I don't understand why those questions get glossed over or get swept under the rug. It's like, where were the parents at? Why weren't the parents responsible for whatever happened there too? Okay, so maybe she had ulterior motives. Maybe she did want to advance her career. It's not the first time that has happened.
Right.
That's happened several times. But now it's starting to come out. And then of course you got the whole, what's his name? That devil-looking guy.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, Harvey Weinstein. Now you got a Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
That's I tell you, man, that used to be as part of the industry as going to a callback. I hate to say it, but that's just the way the 70s and the 80s were. That's just how people.
Yeah, but,
and if you happen to come across that kind of dirtbag,
I think the good thing now is
that girls have it now, but they should have been punished back then. They should be not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
think the good thing now is that
those individuals.
Hello?
Come on.
Those individuals had choices, I can choose to walk down a dark alley or to walk the long way.
Yeah,
right.
Of course. There's a lot of factors involved. Always has been, always will be.
That was the one thing. That's the one thing I never understood about Batman. Batman's parents died in an alleyway.
Oh, sure.
Where was Alfred? Why wasn't Alfred picking them up at the theater?
He was there. He shot them. I'm just kidding.
That was
Do you see my point? Do you see my point?
Yeah.
Well, Alfred was mainly there. One, he's a butler, right? Butlers stay at the house.
No. Two, he was also the chauffeur. It's been proven.
Yeah.
No, he became Bruce Wayne's chauffeur, but I don't think he was a chauffeur at that time. I think that they had individual drivers.
But you don't think someone like Thomas Wayne would have a chauffeur to pick up his wife and his child from a theater?
He probably called out sick that night. You know,
Oh,
there's
okay.
a dozen reasons. There's a dozen reasons
called-
why I can come up with.
No. That's
counter.
called plot convenience. That's called
No,
plot
that-
convenience.
That's
That
called Rando's
needs to
convenience.
happen for the
Called
tragedy
Rando's
to
convenience.
happen.
That's called Rando's knowledge, or Rando's how would you say this? Rando's point of view of things.
I think the thing with the whole Alfred situation is I think it goes back to what those comic books originally were. They're just following, they're following in the footsteps of pulp stories, So it's like literally, like I tell people, like the one thing is when you try to make Batman too realistic and you try to say, why isn't Batman doing this, or why isn't Bruce doing that, or why isn't this happening, or why aren't they talking about this and that, and I go, the problem is if you do that too much, you start poking holes in Batman, and Batman doesn't work anymore. Right. Batman, the reason why Bruce Wayne has money, why he's a billionaire, why Batman is a billionaire, is not because for any complicated reason. The only reason Batman is a billionaire is so that they can easily explain, well, this is how this Cape Crusader has all these weapons and all this stuff and traveled around the world. It's a convenience. So the writer, because you're pumping out scripts back in the day. You're writing pulp stuff. You're writing. You're living out of a 1-bedroom or a studio apartment. You're writing stuff. You're drawing. This is the totally different era back then. A huge a gap between rich and poor, which is where a lot of these stories came out of. Hence why you have guys dressing up in to go fight organized crime and all that. So it was a convenience. They had to write these stories fast. Nobody was sitting there thinking like, let me figure out how Batman could really fight his war on crime realistically. They're like, no, he's got money, it buys him his shit. That's it.
Right. Also, they were probably
They were
probably thinking also like, who knows how long this comic book is gonna last? Who knows how long this character is gonna last? They had no mentality that Superman and Batman were gonna be like these big characters 80 years later.
Hold on. Let me show you something where things have been kind of fixed a little, because if you went and saw the movie The Joker, right? Joker.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What happens in that film? They come out of the theater. I'm not. If you haven't seen it, I don't want to spoil it to you.
Don't worry. I know the scene. I know the scene.
They come out of the theater and there's a riot going on and the streets are blocked off. You see Thomas Wayne looking for his car. He's like looking up and down the street, going, trying to catch a cab. So they decide to try to avoid all of the chaos by cutting through a dark alley. That to me makes more sense than a man and a woman coming out of a movie theater and just, I'm just going to cut through a dark alley because it's a shortcut, even though I'm a multimillionaire and I should be able to have a car to drive me home, because God knows how far is Wayne Manor from the fucking movie theater.
Right.
It could also, in a way, bring up the idea, because they were rich in the 1920s, late 1920s. It could also. I mean, I'm sure it's not a metaphor, but it could also be the idea of like Wayne is so rich that he's basically, he feels impervious. No one's gonna kill me if I take this shortcut in a dark alley, which is the stupidest thing to do. Anybody, if you're rich, you tend to have more stupid fears because you don't want to die because you want to be able to keep spending your money. But the idea that maybe he thought he was so impervious to any, nobody's gonna attack me. Nobody's gonna attack my family.
Yeah, guy pulls out a gun, points it at Thomas
because,
Wayne. Thomas Wayne just looks at me like,
the cartoon.
Don't you know who I am?
No. But the cartoon had Bruce run down the alley. Had Bruce get upset at him, and it was Bruce that ran down the alley.
Highlight William C. Rollis. Highlight what he says. Not just an alley. Highlight that.
Okay.
Yes, remember? Remember, it was called Crime Alley.
Yeah, right.
Okay, here's my guess. Here's my theory. My theory is that it wasn't called Crime Alley until after Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne were murdered. That's when it became.
Now that's a possibility.
Yeah, that is a possibility. But a lot of these things you got to run with, because remember, also the audience they were a bunch of kids. They weren't writing this. They were just like, these are kids. They're going to read them. They're going to throw them away. It's entertainment. They're not even going to care about 5 when they get older and they realize girls. They're just going to be like, screw these comics.
And you know what? you know what? And
Stop
like
that.
the thing that Tim pointed out, I also love the fact that now that I think about it, like you go back and watch Batman Begins, and when Bruce is basically rattled by the opera, and, and like so the dad's like, let's get out of here, and they say, hey, maybe we can get out. This is the exit. Maybe this is the exit right here, and the exit takes them to this back alley area where they're like, okay, you know what, wrong turn, wrong area. That's okay. We'll go around and we'll find our car or get our driver or whatever.
The funny thing is, though, and this is what goes going back to Tim. The funny thing is, they shouldn't even have done that in Batman Begins because the Waynes are so rich. Why isn't he pulling out his giant Zach Morris phone and being like Alfred? And Alfred picks up in the car. Yes, Master Wayne, you can come pick us up now at the movie theater. And then he picks them up and they go home.
Yeah.
Well, it's also possible though. It's also possible that, think about it, they're at the opera. So the opera is for rich people. So they maybe felt safe because they felt like they were in a rich area. So that could always be the possibility.
Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.?
No.
The capital of the United States of America. You're at the White House. If you travel a mile that way or a mile that way from the White House, you're in crime central.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That's why they have.
So you can. Yeah, it's called being prepared. There's a reason why people don't always die in alleys, because there's people who choose not to go down them. There's people who choose to take self-defense courses. There's people who choose to carry a concealed weapon. There's a reason why sometimes people don't die, and there's a reason why people do die. Sure. Because they're just stupid. I hate to say it, but that's just what it is. I've watched people in my day put their hand in a fucking rotary blade while it's spinning, saying, "Oh, I could stop that." I kid you not.
That's fun.
And I'm like, what were you thinking? I thought I could catch it. Okay. All right. You earned the loss of that finger.
That's
losing a finger is nothing, man. But losing a whole hand is that's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, tell that to Luke Skywalker.
What? Yeah, he lost it with lightsaber. It was a clean cut.
Hey man, if you're gonna lose your hand, better lose your hand from a lightsaber. That's just it's gonna hurt, but you're gonna be
paralyzed at the same time
immediately. You don't have to worry about it. You're just dealing with some phantom pain there until you get your sweet robot hand.
Yeah. It'd be hilarious if someone did like a little comic, like a little drawing, and you see like Darth Vader cutting off Luke's hand, and then afterwards he's telling him, "Don't tell your mother." Dad, cut off my hand. Don't tell your mother.
Last week, Jeff was telling me that people were putting in requests that we should be talking more about video games. And I said, well, Jeff, we can talk about video games because there's a lot of video games that have spawned both comic book artwork and both comic books that have spawned video games. And I'm going to take you guys way, way, way back to the this is 1982 for this particular one. Where
we gotta do the flashback noise.
This is a mint, still saran wrapped. It even has a little hang tie still. Atari 2600 video game called Phoenix. You see, back in the 80s, there was a cross promotion between DC Comics and Atari Corporation, Atari Inc. And this is where Atari Force first premiered. There were 5, I believe, comic books. Well, this one's volume 4. It tells you right here in the corner that Atari Force comic book is in the corner by DC. You can see the DC bullet right there.
Awesome.
Yeah, these are pretty cool to find. You can still get these on eBay with the comic book inside. I think I paid, I want to say $18 for this. Just completely brand new. Everything it's just looks like it came right off the shelf. As well as I went ahead and bought Galaxian as well. And this one here has, this one actually doesn't tell you which volume it is, but I know it says number 1. This is the first one. So this will be issue number 1, the first appearance of Atari Force in comics. This is a mini comic. Plus the gorgeous box work. The artwork on the box is fantastic.
Atari is known for their amazing box
yeah.
art because they had to sell you because the graphics were not amazing.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
an Atari. I had
So-
an Atari 2600.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I've got I think this was volume 3, so I've got 1, 3, and 4. I'm still looking for 2 and 5. I knew I still needed 2 of them, and this is Star Raiders. It's got a very cool looking cockpit scene right there where they're blowing up a little ship right here. This one's not wrapped. These did towards the later part of the. Well, actually, this was earlier. This was earlier. This was in 1976. These. Had the J hooks already on the back of the box. You can see it like built in right there that you can pull it up. But they didn't saran wrap these. This is before people stealing cartridges, started happening. And this is actually the orange box. The orange boxes go further back than the silver boxes. But this is one of the earlier games. This was 1976. Can you believe that this came out in 1976 and it's brand new, gorgeous, never been opened? This was also boxed in a bigger box that had a third controller, the keypad controller. You had to use the special keypad controller for this one. So you can either buy the game if you already had the keypad, or in a thicker box that had the keypad controller added to it. I didn't need a vintage controller, so I just went ahead and bought this one. And I think I paid like $12 for this. Believe it or not, the comics inside are worth more if you buy them independently. If you go and try to buy a set of these comics, it could cost you $40-50, sometimes $10-12 just for the comic themselves. I decided to forego getting the comic and just buy the video game unopened. I thought it was a much easier way to go. Just like recently, I bought a magazine that had Eminem's first appearance in it. It was a muscle. It was a what was it? It was a kind of like a male magazine, and it had a short story, a little comic book inside the magazine in the bag that had a Eminem appearance with Punisher. Him and Punisher are together. And,
I remember that.
It's a full-size comic book, and it was bagged in the thing. And instead of buying just the comic book for $60, I got the magazine unopened. Somebody who didn't know that there was a comic book inside of it, and I got it for $12.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So are you gonna those video games that you bought? Are you gonna open them up and get the books and then get them graded or?
Nope. They're just gonna sit on my shelf just like that.
Nice.
No.
Yep.
All right. Since we're showing off stuff, let me show off what I got.
Okay.
Sure.
Your
Still
hat.
waiting.
Your Superman hat.
It was 3 figures, but they only sent me 2, so I'm still waiting for the other one. Hopefully I get it. If not, oh well.
Walmart.
Yeah.
All right.
The Wrath of Khan, Spock.
Hey.
Oh,
Nah.
the ones that you got from Diamond.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Captain.
Now, did you see the convention special of that one?
No.
Oh boy.
If you go on eBay, you can probably find it on eBay, but there's a convention special. It sells for about $60.
Okay.
And it comes with a full-sized Spock action figure in his original series uniform. But then it comes with all his other uniforms. It comes with that uniform. It comes with his Mirror Universe uniform. And it comes with the Cage uniform. And then it comes with an extra head that has his goatee in it for the Mirror one.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little box set that has basically everything your Spock needs.
Yeah. So here's my other one I got here. I had to get this as well.
Captain?
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. I didn't like his head sculpt, though. Man.
Looks like a troll.
Noonian Singh.
Yeah, I can see it. It looks like a troll a little bit.
It's like, Kirk, my old friend.
He's like, did you hear I was remade by J.J. Abrams? It was a horrible film.
Yeah.
I like Benedict Cumberbatch.
That movie would have been great if they just didn't call him Khan, because there's no need. You watch that whole movie and you're like, why is he Khan? There's no need for him to be Khan. This is the stupidest thing ever.
Did you ever see the Disney version of Star Trek 2? It's the Disney cut. Have you seen the Disney cut?
I didn't know that. There's a Disney cut of that?
Yeah. It's a musical. It's a musical. Yeah. and there's a song between Kirk and Khan.
Oh boy.
And Khan starts it off and he goes, anything you can do, I can do better. I can't do anything better than you. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. That's true.
That's a good one.
Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Extreme Nerd Table, Dad Jokes Edition.
Yes.
Yep, Dad Jokes Edition. All right, let's go. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna call it since we don't got nothing else to talk about. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Hey, I've got some CGC books that I just bought. You want to see them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Pull them up, man.
Pull them up.
All right. This is a Godzilla #1, but it was from the initial IDW run. But the reason why I got this one was because the print run was so low. I want to say it's probably around less than 6,000 copies. The first copy, I think, had like 40,000 copies. But this one is a beautiful Alex Ross cover. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of crappy. But it's got the foil logo. Yeah. And it's actually the second printing. Let's see if I can get a little light on it. But it's, it's the Godzilla cover, #1. So that's kind of cool. $40. Can't beat it. It came in a brand new case. That's $35. I think I paid what, $10 for the book. So if that, then of course, this was in a lot sale. I just happened to get this whole lot for $50. And this particular book was in it. One of my favorite Dave Stevens creations. And of course, if I ever bump into, was it Billy Campbell? I would like them to sign this Rocketeer #1 from Comico. This was the Comico with the nice, beautiful Art Deco cover.
That is a great get in a $50 lot. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a 9.6. It's not too bad. And I can see like Billy Campbell's little autograph right there. The guy who played the Rocketeer. If he ever starts doing conventions, that would be really, really cool. Yep, it's a beautiful case. Everything. It's the newer case, so that was new. I'm always looking for the newer cases now. I try not to get the older cases. And then of course I got this one, and I want to shout out to. I love my comic shop and Lone Star Comics because of the way they box. This box came inside another box.
Oh, that's cool.
I love the way they box and ship their comics.
Okay.
But this has their graded. I don't know if anybody out there has ever bought from Lone Star or mycomicshop.com.
I've never bought the
They have these great boxes for their CGC comics.
That's nice.
And I did grab another 9.6 last 2 weeks ago. You guys saw my Space Odyssey 2001 number 8, first appearance of Machine Man.
Oh, yeah.
Now I got the first issue of Machine Man with this beautiful Jack Kirby cover.
Nice. Love Machine Man. Love Machine Man.
Yep.
What it cost
original Machine Man, 9.6. And the hard thing about this one is once again getting it. I don't know if you can see across the label there, but we get the entire 35 cents. We get a nice black bar across the top, and we get the full stamp of approval there. A lot of these books were miscut. They had overfolds on the spine where there's a big huge white line going down the spine. The book was low to where there was a lot of space up here, and the UPC symbol is cut off at the bottom. The gun here is cut off. This guy here, sometimes it's cut to where you can't even see the nozzle of his gun. The black, there's like a black speech bubble, not a speech bubble, but a little blurb here. Sometimes that's cut off. The UPC code, the approval code is sometimes cut off on top. It's very hard to get this squared away where the cut was right. So when I saw this book, I did overpay, I think, a little bit. I think I paid $80 for this one. But to find a book that's cut right from this particular series is one of the hardest things to find. And you won't realize that until you go hunting yourself and realize, damn, Tim's right. There's a couple of books out there that just weren't cut right. Back in the, this is 78.
Okay.
So that book is what, 78, 88, 98, 2008. Whew. 78, 88. 98, 2000. Just it's 40 years old. So, good luck finding a 9.6, 40 years old book that's been cut right.
Yeah.
So once again, it's just one of those. It's just one of those things where I get picky.
I know where I can find one.
In your collection. In my collection.
Your collection.
Oh, I got some good news. I got some good news. I'm getting that book back from Spooky Empire finally.
Oh, nice.
Finally.
Yeah.
What happened with that?
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
I got James Hahn, Low Panda, actually signed issue 9 of Old Man Burton, where he's actually on the cover. He signed it in He signed it in Cantonese and he signed in his name in English. Both.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I have that coming back. So I can't wait to see what grade it came back as. Yeah, so the person that actually tracks it actually told me, yeah, we just got it back. So Dino should be dropping it off either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, one of those 3 days.
Oh, and I got to give a shout out, a thank you again to Tim for telling me about that blank cover that Star Wars won with Marco's help. Also, thanks to Marco.
How many have you sold? I know you sold.
How many did you find? How many did you find?
I had 4. I had 4 of them.
You had 4. Okay.
Yeah, I sold one of them.
You haven't sold any more yet?
For $75. But of course, paying for shipping and the insurance was like roughly $10. So I made like $65.
That's not bad.
But still, $65 off of a book that I paid $3 for. Like that's a good deal.
There you go.
That's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Yep. So now I got 3 more to try and sell.
No, I hope
you make a little money on those.
No, I would have somebody sketch something on it and then sell it.
I don't know.
I would. I mean, if I was you, I would, and then I can charge more.
You know what? Maybe I can use that to get and pay $6,000 for Jim Lee to draw on.
Look, hey guys, don't get me wrong. I love Jim Lee, and there's nothing that I love more of seeing a nice, Wildcats cover or a Batman cover that's been drawn by Jim Lee. Anything he did during the Hush years was fantastic. But you know what? Really and truly, I mean, if you look at that Superman Batman one where they're both on the roof, you can tell there was very little done when it comes to the original penciling. You can tell that was a digital art piece. It was the exact same image with just a different outfit. But I'm just saying, $6,000 for a full body piece of, I mean, I would never pay that much money for somebody to do that. I'd rather admire him from afar. I really would. But if Jeff wants to pay that kind of money,
what
I would hate to say, I know Jeff. And I know Jeff is very picky about what he gets. And if he doesn't like what he gets, he'll turn around and just sell it.
Yeah,
and
but
I guarantee you he won't get $6,000 for it.
At the same time, you have to ask yourself, how many people own a full body sketch from Jim Lee? I guarantee you, here in the state of Florida,
there's more than you think. There's more than you think. There is more than you think.
Probably like a dozen people.
I wouldn't pay for it because I'm a cheap ass Puerto Rican.
I guarantee you that. And there's hundreds of people.
I'm a cheap ass Asian, and I won't pay for it either.
There's hundreds of people in the United States, but in the state of Florida, I'm sure there's maybe only like a dozen people that have it.
Maybe one.
Yeah,
I would say there's. I can
guarantee you, there's a lot more than you think.
I would say there's thousands of people in the United States, and there's hundreds in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, like. Tim,
hey, don't deny Florida's comic book power and its love of the industry.
Well, I understand. But just like Tim, I'm sure there are people out there with money that are like, do I pay this much for a Jim Lee sketch?
Well, the people that have the $6,000 for that sketch,
those guys are going to go buy these.
Yeah, well, no, because the people who have the $6,000. That they're probably people who, when you have that type of money, sometimes people don't want to brag. Oh, I got a Jim Lee sketch. They're like, they bring their friends over and they're like, look at my beautiful Jim Lee sketch, and then they frame it, mount it, and that's it. Or they're taking that $6,000 and they're buying Jim Lee original art.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure they're buying Jim Lee original art, but I mean,
let me tell you something. Jeff Tay wanted a Hulk 181. He ended up getting himself a Hulk price for it. I think it was I don't know. I think it was maybe a 4 or something like that, and I think he got it for a couple grand or something, or a grand or something like that. And once he had it, he was like, "Okay, I have it, but it's not what I want. I want a 9.8," and he's not going to be able to get a 9.8 right now. He might have to get a 9.8 when he becomes a rich doctor. Then he'll be able to afford a 9.8.
Sure.
So he sold it, and then he got an X-Men #1, and I think it was a 1.5 with a big chunk taken out of it. And he bought that, and he was happy with that, and then he ended up selling it. And I think he made a little bit of money on his X-Men #1, which was crazy. That he made I think he made like $200-300 off of the sale, which was to me it's a great profit. I just don't see someone buying a Jim Lee sketch for $6 grand.
I can see him buying it and flipping it after and not liking it. You know how he is. Me and Tim know how he is every once in a while. We know how he is. If he looks at it, he doesn't like it, he's gonna flip it.
Again, it boils down to the idea of, like, other than Jeff Tay, does anyone else here know anyone else that has a head-to-toe, full-body sketch from Jim Lee, personal sketch? Do you know anybody else?
Yes.
Who?
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
You don't know Kevin Smith.
Hey, I didn't say, do you know? I said, you didn't say, do you know them personally? You just said, do you know?
Okay, sorry. We're going to argue. You know what? I can already see the future. I'm going to do the same thing to you, and you're going to be so upset with me. I know it. I know it.
So literally, yes. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there, man.
No, but I'm just saying, do you know anybody within your circle, within your friends, that you can say, hey, I know this person who got it?
No, because within my circle that are obsessed with comic books enough to get something like that, they're pretty much all poor or smart, and they wouldn't get that.
You know what I'd rather have? I've got a head to toe sketch by Alan Bellman.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's horrible looking because the man is 93 years old, and he's doing his best that he can. I got it for $20, I think it was.
What?
Hey man, a lot of those older guys that are, a lot of those older guys
now. Yeah, he's gone. Nobody even knows about him.
A lot of those older guys that are up there in their 70s, 80s.
Yeah. I got a headshot by Jose Delbo that I think I paid $20 for. I've got Pablo Marcus who did a Conan headshot for me. I think I paid $10 for it.
Yeah. Pablo Marcos, I would pay for a whole body, man. That I would pay for a whole body.
Here's the thing: Jim Lee, in 40 years, might be at conventions selling them for $10.
Who drew that one?
That's Alan Bellman.
Ah.
Now this is a print. This isn't a sketch.
Oh, why are you showing it to us? We don't want to see that.
We're talking about sketches, man. We're not talking about prints.
No, I know.
Don't you have any sketches? What's wrong with you?
Calm down, relax. But
I got one.
Yeah, not a print. We're talking about
like the nicest
actual. But like, did you hear what I last said?
Anyways, you brought up and I wanted to show off this print that I got from him.
Yeah. When Jim Lee gets older, he might fade into obscurity. Doing sketches for $20 at a convention. Look at that. See?
He's too big. He's going to be big like Stan Lee.
Who's that?
Yeah, Buzz from the 90s. Yeah, he did that, and I didn't pay anything for it, man. And normally this would cost you $50. Yeah.
Yep.
So according to Bellman's website, he's still alive. He's got a bunch of appearances coming up this year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Any MegaCon appearances?
Bellman will be at Tampa Bay Comic Con. It says TB. It says to be decided. So maybe he won't be.
Yeah.
Okay. It's to be decided.
Mostly he's at SuperCon because he lives down there in Miami.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of those older guys that 70s, 80s, some of them make it into the 90s. Some people sadly they're just like, And then so you can get a sketch of them for $20.
Yeah,
And it's just like, damn, man.
Yeah, I was going to get a Golden Age Captain America book that he worked on. Like when I was at the convention he was at, I was looking for books that he had worked on that I thought, hey, maybe I can buy this and get him to sign it. But like some of the books that they had there at the convention, they were like
Pablo Marcos was one, man. Pablo Marcos at TempaCon was one. Pablo Marcos at TempaCon had nobody at his table. Like nobody came to his table. I was probably the only one.
How much was the sketches?
Like Pablo, I think Pablo was charging like 100 or something or more.
That's
more,
damn cheap, man.
Yeah,
because like that man's work is gorgeous.
Yeah, and I didn't have it at the time, but when like if I see him if he's back this year at TempaCon, I know for sure I'm getting one because dude. I walked up to the table and I had him sign that and Monsters Unleashed. He signed a Monsters Unleashed for me. Then he signed the inside of where he actually did the work. He actually signed inside.
And I'm gonna put this out there, and I'm gonna blame one particular person because I've traveled the world going to conventions. I'm gonna blame Neil Adams. Okay, Neil Adams was the first comic book creator that started charging for his autograph at any convention I ever went to. Even before Stan Lee was charging, I got a free Stan Lee autograph. Okay, back when he introduced the 2099 universe, when he was working with Ravage 2099, I got that book signed for free, plus one other book for free. Okay, plus I got my convention program signed by Stan Lee for free.
Nice.
Neil Adams started charging his prints. I think he started charging. I think it was you buy a print for $20 and you get his autograph for free. If you wanted an autograph, it was like $15. So it was he actually made the marketing plan to where it was cheaper to just buy one of his prints to get signed. I got 2 or 3 prints from him signed, and then I stopped because the $20 went up
to 100.
If I ever
30, then now I think or 1 for 40, 2 for 60.
2 for 60.
If I ever get to that level of notoriety, I won't charge for signatures, but I will. If you come in with like a big box of books to sign, I will then charge you because I know you're just going to throw those up on eBay. If you're coming in, you always tell a fan and then somebody who just wants to flip, Yeah. And the way a lot of people are getting around
that's
it.
That's why I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind putting limits. I think that artists should only sign three items per person.
Yeah,
that's it.
A lot of writers and artists are also doing it where if they sign your book, they'll be like, "Well, only personalize it. If you just want me to sign my name without personalizing it to you, then I'm going to charge you, for the signature because I know, even if you say like, no, I'm not going to throw it up on eBay. How do they know? Which is a smart thing."
Actually, it's funny. I came up with the idea. It sounds crazy, but I came up with the idea that if I ever reach that status, what I would do is I would either have a laptop or I'd have a form. You know how like when you work at a con, you have people there working with you. And they're like,
I think I know where you're going with this, but keep going because there's a creator that already did this. Go.
Yeah.
Okay. So one, I would document. I would get every person's name that would get a book from me. And when they would get a book, what I would do is I would assign a number next to my signature. So it'd be like, if you were the first person to get a book signed by me, I would put 1, sign. If you gave me 2, 3 books, I'd be like, okay, 2, 3, 4, sign. When they were done signing, I would say, okay, I would like your information. What is your name? And then get, maybe see a driver's license to confirm their name and say, okay, put it on the list. And so then what I would do is I would have my own catalog of every person that's gotten a signature from me. And then if I went matched with numbers, and then if I went on eBay and I saw a book and they were putting it up for sale with that number, I would match that name. And I would say, okay, cool. If I see that person at a convention ever again and they want me to sign, I know to charge them.
Randall,
What?
you're the only
What?
person I know that takes something that's as simple and something that's as easy as done and overcomplicates to
I
the
was,
point
I was
Yeah.
gonna,
that makes it just
Yeah.
completely.
I
I was gonna say,
I
I was gonna say, what Russian communist gulag shit is this?
Yeah.
And he calls me a conservative.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to say like John Byrne. Remember those stories of John Byrne where people brought up second print copies of like, you know, they brought up like trade collections or second print copies of books or whatever, and he would just like take a stamp and stamp their the book with his signature.
Yeah.
It was like story of John Burns doing that. Like I think somewhere like in the 90s or something like that, and he just put a stamp. He's like, oh, since it's a replica, you get a replica signature. You know?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, guys. And this is whether I make it or whether I don't make it or whether I just continue living my life the same way I do. I've actually had the honor of standing in a line where people were getting my autograph. And I probably signed over 400 or 500 autographs. Okay. In this one particular event. I tell you, not only was I almost to the point of tears, but I could tell you this. Those people came to see me. No way in hell was I going to charge them for anything. No way in hell was I going to charge them. And if I've made myself a promise. If I ever do make it to any way, I will always have time for my fans. Because if they took time to come and see me, then I'm going to take time to get to know them and spend time with them. Because that's where my life has gone. I'm the one that chose to put my life out there for people to see as a celebrity. I'm not doing it for, but when I act, I do it for some level of personal gratification because it helps me discover where I am at in life. I get to look at myself and say, wow, the play that I'm in right now is helping me get through a relationship because it's showing me that I can fall in love again. It's showing me that my heart it still exists, even though it feels like it's been completely ripped out of my chest. It's still there. It's beating, and I can see myself falling in love again. That's what this play has done to me. It's given me insight, and it makes me see myself from a different perspective. And if people get to witness that, if people get to witness what I am metamorphosizing into, then that's fantastic. And I'll be there. I'll be thankful that they witnessed that. I'll be happy to sign whatever they want me to sign until the last person leaves. I kid you not. And it's not because I am an ego trip guy. It's because I want to satisfy everybody as much as I've satisfied myself. Simple as that.
Unlike Randall, who if he gets ever to a fame, and someone messes up, he'll be like, take that peasant's picture and ban him from ever getting a signature again. Comic Thanos has spoken.
Well, I'm going to start a new trend. People are going to be like, this guy's crazy. But then they're going to see my system works. And then when my system works, it's like, watch out, you poachers out there. Watch out, you guys try to
they're going to call you crazy after you implement your system because it's a crazy system.
Crazy genius.
Well,
but
you already fucked up, Randall. You know how you fucked up is you already gave out your system on the air. So what you should have done as a real marketer is you should have said, if you want to purchase my system, I'll be happy to show you how you can do this for a low price of $14.99.
They'll just steal my system, and then I'll just be angry. But I got to point out that, I have something better than a Tim Guerreri autograph. I have an original Tim Guerreri sketch. Do you remember that sketch?
Do you really?
I do have that sketch. Remember that sketch? We were at. I brought my notepad. And when I went to the bathroom, you drew something funny, and I was like, "Oh, do you remember what it is?"
I do remember that. Yeah.
All right.
What did I do?
I was thinking, how could you forget?
You gotta dig it out.
Yeah.
I do that everywhere I go.
Yeah.
That's the thing, Randall. I'm the kind of guy when I leave tips at a restaurant, I'll draw something on the receipt, or I'll say something on the receipt, or I'll put stars all over the receipt saying how good they were. If I can walk away and have someone look down at the receipt and not only say, wow, they gave me a $10 tip, but they took the time to draw hearts all over everything, or if they can smile for a second then it was worth my time.
Right.
They may sound crazy, but that's the perspective. That's where I come from.
Oh,
That's why I'm an
that's
artist.
not crazy. And I know crazy.
Because Randall is crazy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Number
I learned this really quick.
1783. You know, like.
Yeah, I learned this really quick. If you do things from your heart, the money will come. When I started doing the Christmas gig during the holiday season, I used to focus on the adults because I thought that was the crowd that I should be focusing on. But I learned really quickly, like on my third day, fuck the adults. If they like it, they like it. I'm going to focus on the kids. And if I make the kids smile, you know what the adults do? They tip me.
Nice.
Thank you so much for paying so much attention to my kids.
Yeah.
Smart.
That's smart.
And you know, I made over $1,800 in tips in less than a month.
The reverse way, Randall was focused on the adult and expect the kids to tip him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me your candy. Give me your candy.
Bah humbug.
All right, we're gonna call it, man, and we're gonna
All
call
right.
it now. I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, I gotta go eat dinner.
Yeah, it was good. It was good talking to you guys.
Good talking to you
lot of fun as always.
I have a feeling